Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at how to find the slope of a graph, specifically using the slope formula. There's another way to find slope using rise over run, which if you want to learn it that way, I will link that in the description below. Just a reminder, this is the full lesson version of this video, so we're going to go through a bunch of examples. We're going to go step by step. If you want the shorter version, where we just cover the main ideas and go pretty quickly, I will link that in the description. Lastly, before attempting this lesson, you should already know how to add and subtract positive and negative numbers, or else have a calculator that can do it for you. And you should also be familiar with graphing. If you want refreshers on those, I will link those in the description below. All right, so slope in mathematics, okay, is related to these graphs that you see. But when you think of slope in general, just, first thing that comes to mind, a lot of people will think of skiing or snowboarding, right? The ski slopes. And similar to the ski slope, all right, different ski slopes have different steepness or difficulties, right? There's black diamond, blue, whatever. And the slope of a line also, the number will tell you how steep it is, okay? It tells me something about the steepness. So let's see how this works. So this is the slope formula, okay? Remember, M is the letter we use for slope. And it looks a little ugly. We'll explain what all this stands for in a second. But one of the most common mistakes that I get is students like to switch the x and the y. And a way to remember that, I had someone tell me many years ago that think of a picnic table, those old school wooden picnic tables. And remember how they have the x at the bottom? That's a visual way to remember, oh, the x's go on the bottom of this formula. So let's see how it works here. Here's our formula. They give us these numbers, 0, -2, and 4, 1. Remember, the first letter, or the first number is a x coordinate, second is a y coordinate. It's always in that order, x then y. And so I'm going to call this x1 because it's the first x I see, and this is the first y I see. This is the second x, this is the second y. You could flip those, okay? You could call 0 x2 and so on and so forth, but I just go in the order that I see. And now what you do is you take them. So for example, in this formula, the first thing they have is y2. So for y2, I'm going to put a 1. So now it's going to say m equals 1 minus y1 was -2. So I'm going to put -2. Notice that there's a minus sign already there, and then I need to put in a -2. And then on the bottom, x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 0. And now, 1 minus -2, I don't know how you learn that, but the way I always teach it, that just becomes plus. So 1 plus 2 is 3. And then 4 minus 0 is 4. And here's our final answer. Slope is 3/4. All right, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For the first problem, you should have gotten a slope of -1. Remember, you could have flipped the x1, y1, x2, y2, but you should come up with the same answer if you're doing it correctly. Okay? And for the second problem, you should have gotten a slope of -1/3. All right. For these types of problems, you'll notice that these are, this problem on the left, right, is a horizontal line. Horizontal, and on the right, we have a vertical line, and these have special slopes. So let's look at them. We can still set our problem up the same way. And so here I'm going to get 2 minus 2 over -1 minus -4. And that will leave me with 0 over 3. 0 divided by anything is just 0, okay? And the slope of any horizontal line, the slope is always 0. Doesn't matter where it is on the graph. If it's a horizontal line, slope will be 0. For vertical lines, let's see what happens. So when I put these coordinates in, let's see, -5, -1, -5, -3. We're going to do -3 minus -1 on the top, and on the bottom we're going to do -5 minus -5. This will give me -2 over 0. And anything divided by 0, like if you type -2 divided by 0 in your calculator, it will tell you the answer is undefined. Okay, and any vertical line, the slope will always be undefined. Always, always, always. All right, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. Again, you can do the slope formula if you want, but we should be able to look at a horizontal line and say that the slope is 0. And for a vertical line, the answer is the slope is undefined. All right, for this problem, you'll notice something is a little bit different in that they don't give you the numbers on the graph. Okay, so this is why you have to know your graphing. And the way that you pick numbers here is you need to pick coordinates where the green line hits the grid, the faint gray lines right on the corner. For example, right here, the green and the grid hit right on a corner. Right here, the green and the grid hit right on a corner. Right here, the green and the grid hit right on a corner. And you can do this, you can choose whatever 2 points you want, doesn't matter. And so I'm going to do, let's see, this is 3, 0 right here. And let's do this one, which is 9, 18. And now we just do our normal slope formula, 3, 0, 9, 18, x1, y1, x2, y2. We're going to do 18 minus 0 on the top over 9 minus 3 on the bottom. This gives us 18 over 6, or a slope of 3. All right, it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For the first one, you could have chosen different points. These are the 2 points that I chose. But no matter which points you chose, you should have ended up with a slope of -1/2. Notice that I had to reduce. Okay, I got -8 over 16, which can be reduced to -1/2. And for the second problem, again, you could have chosen different numbers, but should have gotten a slope of 1/5. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.